Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some key strategies and things that are really important to do to overcome an abusive relationship. And I really want to highlight here because there have been so many requests we're receiving from students inside PDS, from community members, through our customer service emails that we receive from you guys. We've had so many people specifically want us to discuss narcissistic abuse. What I want to start by saying before we get into this is, I think it's really important to highlight some key differences. I am definitely not here to shame anybody who's been abusive in relationships, and not the narcissist either, because this person's also really traumatized. But at the same time, while we can have compassion for someone's trauma, while we can understand that trauma is often what creates a lot of pain in relationships, there is a massive difference between having compassion and wishing someone well from a distance versus using that compassion or more like sympathy that we have for somebody and allowing that to be the thing that makes us hurt ourselves by violating our own boundaries in relationship to this person. And so I just really want to highlight, because we talk a lot about on this channel, compassion and kindness and all these sorts of things, and forgiveness. And these are really important principles to try to live by. They make the quality of our own lives a lot better. But just because we're kind and compassionate doesn't mean we have to be like, okay, great, let me jump back into the relationship with somebody that I know is going to hurt me again. And I really just want to highlight that importance here. Kindness and compassion don't mean violation of self. And so, you want to have that equal kindness and compassion to yourself if you see that there are unhealthy patterns that really aren't working for you in a relationship and that are very detrimental to you, and be able to honor that and take space and do the work. So sometimes when people are afraid to leave a relationship and they're having a hard time, it's because of these main things we're going to talk about here. And what I want to start by saying is, as we go through these different sort of components here in this video, there are some important steps we have to do in order to promote long-term healing, and also in order to allow ourselves to maintain a boundary. Because I've seen for so many people over the years, so many people will know consciously that somebody is really, really hurting them, and that the patterns are scary and frightening and they're not working. And yet the subconscious mind, it's sort of like an addiction in a way. The subconscious mind can have such a dependency on this individual that, let's say it's somebody having a dependency on the narcissist. There can be such an addictive quality through a trauma bond, or somebody who's meeting, profoundly unmet needs in certain forms in life, that while the conscious mind knows better, the subconscious mind goes back. Now, I'm not here to judge anybody going through that experience, but I am here to absolutely encourage you to do whatever necessary work is required in order to be able to create a permanent boundary in this situation. And that's what I'm going to share with you in this video, is what that really looks like in a way that addresses and engages the subconscious mind in the process. Because what we should know is, number one, when we are in a situation with a narcissist, usually the subconscious mind has already been primed. If we've been in like a decently long-term relationship, usually the subconscious mind has already been primed to have difficulty leaving. And here's why. The narcissist has very specific qualities a lot of the time that really make somebody feel like a lot of their childhood needs are met that were often unmet in previous experiences, or in childhood. So the narcissist is often somebody who is very protective, very strong, very intelligent, charismatic, gives a lot of attention, makes people often feel very seen, heard, special, important, loved, cherished, valued, cared for, doted on. Your dreams are made into reality. Like, this person on one side tends to very much understand the human experience to quite a degree. And they can represent a lot of these things. Like, if you think of almost every person's childhood, just by the nature of how we're socialized, there's usually, like, children usually yearn to feel seen and heard and important and valued, and like they matter, and like there's presence and all these different things. So it creates this very strong addictive component at the subconscious level of the person in the relationship with a narcissist. And so what can happen is, when we try to leave or exit that relationship, the conscious mind is like, this is not healthy and I have to go. And the subconscious mind is like, but these things, right? And it's sort of like analogous to like somebody who's struggling with a relationship to alcohol or gambling, for example, where it's like the conscious mind knows better and will be like, no, don't go to the casino. Like, I always end up regretting it after, like, I don't want to do it, but then the subconscious mind pulls and pulls. And it goes back to these principles we talk a lot about on this channel, which are like the conscious mind can't really outwill or overpower the subconscious mind over a period of time. So knowing that is really important to recognize so you can have compassion for yourself. And what that means is when we go to leave, one of the first and most important things that we have to do is we have to address this dynamic at the subconscious level. So let's say you realize, okay, this relationship's not okay for me, I'm going. And and you should know that a couple of things are going to happen. And I can do different videos about some of the narcissist patterns, but one of the first things is that the narcissist doesn't like to let the person go. They will often like call a lot, text a lot, show up unannounced, call all your friends and family. Like there tends to be a lot of holding on that takes place from the person on the narcissist in the relationship. And so there's going to be a lot of temptation to go back. It's like the casino keeps showing up at your front door, right? Or like somebody keeps dropping off like alcohol when you're trying to get sober. Like it's not a good situation. And so what you want to know is that it's going to be difficult and you want to put your suit of armor on first. And what that looks like is usually there are really important stains that are left by this person, like the ways that they tend to really, really hurt, that like land in a really profound way, a very traumatic way a lot of the time. And so an example of this could be, that you caught somebody doing something that was really, really painful, that you saw messages in a phone or an email or whatever it might be that confirmed that this person was doing things behind your back, that whatever it might be. If you can find a couple things, even like a way somebody talked to you or treated you or something they did, these sort of climatic experiences, it's really hard at the beginning, but this is your suit of armor to stay strong and to stay away. And what you want to do is you want to write those things down or have like screenshots of them on your phone or whatever it might be, so that when you have that temptation, the conscious mind speaks through language, right? It speaks through like actual language. Your subconscious mind speaks through emotion and imagery. And the subconscious mind is the one trying to drag you back in. It's the one trying to go back towards the addiction. And so what you want to be able to do to be able to really cut ties and leave this relationship once and for all is have something that you have on hand, like sort of like a tool in a toolbox, that when this person comes back around and tempts you with the addiction and says all the things you want to hear and, all of that you have these things on hand and you can remind yourself. And what you're really doing is you're using your conscious mind to remind your subconscious mind, the things that evoke emotion and imagery, the you writing about that experience that happened where the person treated you in such a painful way, or you having that snapshot of something on hand on your phone. You want to have your suit of armor so you have something there for yourself, some kind of like, I can look at this and I can remember how bad I felt, and my subconscious will feel, and I'll think of the memory and it'll be these images in my mind. And here I am, and this is going to keep me staying and keep me with my boundary as a whole. And so this is really, really important to begin with. And that is usually something you have to do and keep using and reutilizing for the first month or so. It takes, about 21 days to reprogram. And because there's going to be, some big probably challenges to staying away and the person trying to contact you, you have to remind yourself fairly often. And it can be hard because we don't want to like cause pain or suffering to ourselves. But sometimes what I found in working with so many people, sometimes that can be the only thing that really keeps people safe and gets them out of that situation sort of once and for all, in a way that reaches the subconscious mind. And it also helps us to see like the full picture, because on one hand, this person does tend to be like very romantic and intense and, all these different things like out of a movie. But on the other hand, there's all of this pain and suffering. And often the mind, because it has a reticular activating system, which is kind of like a filtering system that tries to filter things according to what you need, often it will tune out the bad stuff, right? And you'll see in people who are in emotionally or physically abusive relationships, that's just tuned out. And so it's really important to recognize this. So that's number one, the big first step. And then the second thing is we tend to have these things that this person represents. And it tends to be certain needs that they've met that usually we're out of relationship to in our lives. It tends to be traits that this person represents that we repress. And because we have trait variety, we tend to be very attracted to things that we are repressing. So for example, when somebody is very assertive, very confident, if we're not that assertive and not that confident, when that person comes along from a biological trait variety perspective, we're like, oh, we want to merge with those traits because we have a better chance of surviving. So we get really attracted to that at a very deep level. And also the narcissist tends to represent the subconscious comfort zone of individuals. So if I treat myself really negatively in my thinking all day, let's pretend, and let's say that's because maybe I was treated that way in childhood, maybe I had a really critical set of parents and teachers and whoever else it might be, just in theory, right? Then I'm going to have all this stuff in my mind, a way I talk to myself. And then when somebody comes along, even though my conscious mind might say red flag, this person's treating me in a very critical, harsh way, my subconscious mind is going to be like, but it's familiar. And remember, we yearn for that familiarity. So we want to take those three things. And I'm going to give you an exercise in the next video in this series to actually like sort of do the work on some of these things so you can leave and be able to hold that boundary and not be tempted to either go back into a new relationship like that 2 years later, or go back to that same person again. We actually have to work on meeting the needs in relationship to self and in healthy forms with friends and family and in the 7 areas of life so that we are not trying to seek that from outside of us. So let me give you an example. The narcissist tends to make people feel very seen. If I'm in a position where I don't see myself, I don't see my own feelings, my needs, and my boundaries, and in fact, I usually oversee everybody else except for myself. I really can tell what other people are feeling. I'm really attuned to others, but not attuned to myself. When somebody gives that back to me, I'm going to hunger for it, right? It's like it's like a drug. It's like so strong. Like, wow, somebody's making me feel so seen and like valued and important. And if I'm not doing that to myself, if I'm actively even taking that away from myself, it's going to be this bucket that gets filled, this like need that's met that was so unmet. So I'm going to really yearn to chase after that. And so what I have to do the work on to prevent myself from going back into dynamics like this at a subconscious level going forward is those things. Can I meet my unmet needs? Can I integrate and start, activating and working on myself, those traits that I'm so attracted to in others? And can I repair my subconscious comfort zone and stop treating myself in a painful way in my internal dialogue, the way I think about myself, the way I treat my own boundaries and feelings and emotions, so that I'm not a match to people who are going to treat me that way. And I don't want to say like a match, but just that your subconscious mind will see red flags, will feel them, will experience them. And it will be outside of your comfort zone to be around people who treat you like that. So those are really big components. Other thing I'm going to say is we also want to dump out what our limiting beliefs are about why I should stay. Usually we have limiting beliefs that keep us going back. Like, I'll never find somebody else like this. I'll be alone forever. Nobody else will love me after this. Nobody will love me like this. Like, it's very common to have a lot of beliefs like that. I'm not worthy of love. I'm unlovable. And so what happens is we fear giving up on this thing because we might think this is the only thing we're going to have or get. And we have to do the reprogramming on those beliefs as well, so we can exit and have a clean break. So I hope this makes sense. I feel like there's so much to really talk about in terms of this topic as a whole. I hope this makes sense. My heart goes out to anybody who may be experiencing this right now. And please know that you're strong and you can leave and you're deserving and worthy of a relationship that is loving and fulfilling and caring and respectful. And that it's possible to have something like that in your life. So anyways, I hope this all makes a lot of sense. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.